You've probably heard the expression that trading should be simple. Well, in this video, we're going to be testing a very simple trading strategy that I've actually really wanted to test myself for a while now, and I'm thrilled to be doing it with the help of the Forex Tester platform. So stay tuned if you want to check out a really simple strategy where we're going to be either doing one of two actions, and it is the simplest strategy in the world, but let's see if it works. The idea is really simple. This is going to be a risk on versus risk off strategy, and we are only going to be in one position at all times, one or the other. Let me explain. We are either going to be long the NASDAQ or long bonds, and those are our only two options. Let's talk about the strategy. This strategy aims to ride bullish markets and stay defensive in bearish markets. It will always have just one position open, either long the NASDAQ or long TLT, but never both. So this position is just going to flip-flop between being long NAS or long bonds through the ETF TLT. So when the NASDAQ's 20-day moving average is above the 50-day moving average, what we're going to do as we test this is we are going to be long the NASDAQ, and no position should be open on TLT. And when we enter into a bearish market, when the NASDAQ's 20-day moving average goes underneath the 50-day moving average, or a bearish cross, we are going to reverse the trade and say no open positions on the NASDAQ, closing it wherever it is, and we are going to go long TLT, regardless of price action. So just for context, we are going to be using the NASDAQ and its moving averages to determine what position we should be in. Our risk on position is where we're going to be long the NASDAQ with no position open on TLT, which is a bond ETF. And our risk off position is going to be no position on the NASDAQ and long TLT while we wait for the market to go back into a bull trend. This is a very simple strategy, and believe it or not, actually a lot of people love this type of stuff. I am included. Like, it's so simple, but it just might work. Let's test it, and with the help of Forex Tester, we can dummy test to see just how good we can make this strategy. Stay tuned to the end where we're going to take a look at some AI insights that the tool through its analytics tab can give to us after we go through some trading data. Check it out. Okay, so I am in the Forex Tester online platform, and I'm creating a new project. You can see my graveyard full of different projects I've done in the past. So check this out. What we're going to do in this project is we are going to call this our risk on versus risk off experiment. And we are going to need two symbols added in. So we're going to keep the $10,000 amount here for the deposit. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add two things. Remember, we wanted the NASDAQ. So let's just go NAS 100. We'll use the CFD. I think that's perfectly fine. And then we also want to add to our symbols. We want to add TLT. And so if we add these two to our thing, what we can see is anything else we want to change here. I think we can leave the rest defaulted. Here is our two symbols here, so we're all good. And let's click Create Project. Okay, so now we have our project, and what we can do is just click the play button, and you'll see it launches us into the Forex Tester online platform. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch these two charts that we see on the screen to our daily time frame. And you can see having these dual windows at the same time is so convenient, because then we can watch the price form at the same time. They'll stay in sync together. This is just remarkable. So what remember, we only need really two indicators for this test. We need to add our simple moving average. I'm just going to favor that for future things because I use it so often. And remember, we said we're going to use the 20-day moving average, and style wise, I'm going to make this blue. So we'll make that blue and apply that. Whoops, we added it to this one. Let's move it over to NAS. Okay, so we've added our 20-day to the NASDAQ. Let's also add our simple moving average here. We'll do another one. This time it's going to be the 50-period moving average, and we'll use red for this one. Let's just make this a little bit thicker just so we can see it. And there we go. Let's also just make this one thick. We can just change the style. This is one of the cool things about Forex Tester. It's very customizable to make it look just the way you want it. And I'm also just going to remove that moving average. So I really don't care what TLT is doing. Remember, the idea here is we're just going to park here when this thing is in a downtrend, and we're going to stay long over here when this thing is in an uptrend. So let's just get right into it. So with Forex Tester, we are in a simulated environment. So based on our rules, we are not going to really try and do too much in terms of technical analysis timing. So remember, we are just going to get long this market. And what I'm going to do here is when I create a new order on the NASDAQ, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a standard size for this position. So let's just go with let's go with a 0.25 lot. And that's not going to change. We are just going to take this trade here. Actually, let's go a little smaller just because the trades could enter into some drawdown. Let's just see where this goes. So we'll go place order. Really, our risk management is not what we're focusing on this time around. We are really just focusing on the effectiveness of this strategy. And so what we can do here is we can start letting this go. I mean, we can just start to speed this up, and we want to essentially just let this thing kind of play out over time. And remember, we are just going to stay in this trade. We're not going to do anything with the TLT until we get a moving average cross the other direction. So what this could mean is we could be sitting in a nice NASDAQ long position for ideally months on end if we get a good stretch. So we are back in 2017 data, and this market is trending to the upside here. Reminder that we are just waiting for this blue line to cross back beneath the red one, and that will be our indication of it's time to flip into a risk off or defensive posture. So right now we are on offense and just watching price continue to move higher. And if we just pause really quick, let's just take a look at our open positions. So we can see our NAS 100 position is up nicely, $282 on our $10,000 account. So again, it's really not we're not doing a risk management focused on this strategy right now. We're really just focusing on how effective does this keep us in risk on markets versus how, effective is it at keeping us out of downward markets. So we'll let this continue to play out and see if we can get a little bit more data here behind us. And there we go. Buyers came back in. You can see held support very nicely. And so we're just using moving averages. This is not even a price action strategy. It's a very simple approach here. And you can see that trade is kind of going crazy now, up $550 here or so. And again, nothing to do on this trade for now except continue to watch and wait. I'm also going to just quickly switch my layout to a side-by-side. I think this will look a little bit better. So we're just going to clean this up here. There we go. And again, I just prefer the side-by-side view. So again, that's a cool thing. You can adjust this the way you like it, but we're going to just keep watching this here. And remember, we are just looking for this moving average to truly cross back underneath. So we're staying in the trade. There's nothing to do just yet, waiting for that cross. And once it crosses, we are going to get into our risk off position. And we'll see if that happens here in a second. We're looking like the moving averages are converging. And remember, if they close, then we will, if they close in a bearish way. So there is our bearish indication. So what we will do now is we are up $482. Let's close all positions. We can use the close all feature. Very nice. We had a very nice profit on our first trade here. Now what we can do is, remember, our strategy is we stay with the moving average crossover. So at this time, we are going to go ahead and get long TLT. Now for TLT, let me make sure I get the sizing right, because again, this is the ETF TLT. So we'll go ahead and just hit our buy position. And let me just see, I'm not exactly sure if this is operating off of shares. So let's just hit play. I just want to see what the P&L looks like a little bit. Okay, so it's barely moving. So basically, let's do this. What we'll do here is we will, on the TLT side of things, we'll do 100 shares long. See if that works for us. 100 shares long. There we go. Okay, so that should be, so that should give us a little bit more movement in terms of price action. So now that we have actually closed back above, you can see we had a little bit of a fake out there. So in this case, TLT though, still kind of actually worked out okay. So we're gonna close out. We still made a profit on this, although very small, but we have to stick to the strategy. So we're going to get back into our position over here, and we are going to, again, use that same size. We're back long the NASDAQ, and let's see how this plays out. Remember, we have no position now on TLT. We are just long the NASDAQ. And so we are watching to see if this thing rolls over. If the moving averages converges, it's time for us to get back into risk off. But for now, we will stay risk on until our signal flashes. So let's just see how this plays out. In this case, we're definitely giving back some profits, and there it is. So it's time to close out this position. We have to follow the rules. So we are out of the strategy. And again, this tells us it's time to get back long on TLT. So if I go ahead and I'm going to set up a new order here, we're going to do on TLT, remember 100 shares, We'll click place buy. And again, we're not using stops or targets. We're just letting the moving averages tell us what to do. So in this case, we are long TLT. We have our position open. We have nothing on the NASDAQ, and we are watching the moving averages. If this thing rolls over to the downside, we will stay in our TLT. And I've got my eye right here. I'm just watching for that moving average crossover to tell me when it's time to get back into the NASDAQ. But for now, we have a bearish signal, so we will remain long TLT only. And we'll see how that plays out. Just giving this more time to process. And what I love about this too is that this daily candle, you can see we're going through, weeks of time relatively quickly. Okay, so we just had technically a cross back in the positive direction. We did take a loss on the TLT position, so let's choose to close all and now reverse the trade. We are going to be back long the NASDAQ, so we want to make sure our size is correct. Let's go to the NASDAQ. We're going to do our 0.1, place order. We are back on the long side, click play. And again, we are looking for, at this time, we stay in this. We have no trade on TLT, although look at that rebound. My goodness, TLT jumped. But fortunately, NASDAQ is in the right direction for now. Let's see if we can catch a little bit of a trend to the upside. Again, we're looking for that blue line to cross back below the red line, telling us to get out of the trade. And this is a very, very simple strategy, but that's kind of the point. The point here is to test a very simple idea. Get defensive versus get offensive in markets, and how clean of a trend. If you catch a very clean trend, this can be a wonderful strategy. Obviously, the downside here is that you could get whipped out of some moves. But for now, we're in a nice little buy trade here on the NASDAQ. So we'll continue to let time play out. And again, maybe there's some, at the end of this test, we'll check and see, hey, maybe should I be taking some profits off? Should I be trailing out? Should I be, there's different ways that we could potentially handle a trade going in our favor. But for now, we are just following our very simple rule set. Look at that. We basically bounced right off that 50-day moving average. Still long, staying with the trade. And I'm just continuing to watch to see how this strategy plays out. Now, what I'm doing here is also very automatable. Like you could very well program a expert advisor or robot to do this. And I believe that is also something supported by Forex Tester, which is really cool. So you can actually automate what I'm doing. This is a fully mechanical strategy that we are just testing out today. And I love doing this stuff, but I think you could actually even automate it to really refine it and improve it. But look at this. We are still holding beautiful the way that it's holding for now, this moving average. As long as that doesn't cross over, and look at bonds getting hit here, while NASDAQ is actually doing pretty well. Again, this is just trend following 101, really. We're just either long NASDAQ or long TLT. Simplest strategy in the world. I mean, we've got a decent profit going here. Watching to see if this is going to close. Let's see if it rolls over. Okay, we just had our close. Let's go ahead and flatten out, take profits on this. Reminder, we are going to now flip over to this side of the aisle, 100 shares long, TLT, and we will hit go. Again, there is no discretion here. There is no additional thinking. We are just following what the trend is doing. If it's trending up, we are long NASDAQ. If it's trending down, we are long TLT. Couldn't get simpler than that. And in this case, look at this. We are very nicely, even if we are slightly negative here, the NASDAQ took a bit of a drop here. So you can see we're definitively, at least for now, trending down. We'll see if this reverses course, waiting for that blue line to go back, or the blue average to go back above the red average. For now, still bearish. And look at that. As the NASDAQ continues to fall here, we are long bonds. Now, one of the things that I imagine with this strategy we could get into is, do we want to add some kind of short NAS or short TLT position into the mix? I mean, look at this. We are really tanking on the NASDAQ here. Meanwhile, TLT is up $400 on our trade, or $300 here. Very nice. Look at that. TLT is in massive profit now. And this is saving us. Like, just think about what we're looking at here, guys. If you were just long NASDAQ, just buying hold, you gave back a substantial, you probably would have gave back all your gains. And now here, TLT is actually saving us in a down market. Very interesting. And again, we didn't make any discretionary call on TLT. We literally just followed the NAS trend. When the trend broke to the downside, we went long TLT. So watching for this break, we're very close here, and there we go. Okay, so let's flatten out. Look at this, a $600 profit, close all. And again, now we go long the NASDAQ following our rules here. Same strategy. And you can just see like nothing works 100% of the time. But generally speaking, this is looking promising so far. We don't have very much data, but so far it's looking like it seemed to have very adequately kept us out of a pretty ugly kind of bearish market here. And we'll just keep letting this go here. It's loading some data as we go along. Very interesting. I mean, to me, that was a huge thing, is just that concept of having a bear market experience and yet at the same time being able to actually make money in the down market through TLT. That was pretty incredible. Very, very cool stuff. And maybe we'll look for one more move here, and then we'll take a look at what the journal tells us, or our analytics. This analytics tab, get ready. This is going to be kind of cool to see what it says. It's going to give us some insights on the strategy. So far, our P&L overall has looked pretty good. We're up to 11,000. I mean, that's an 11% gain. Or I'm sorry, it's more than that. 15% gain. It's not too bad. And we're just going to keep letting this play out. Now we've actually got a decent trade going on the NASDAQ. That TLT trade was really good, surprisingly. I mean, my thought was, you know, the NASDAQ would be a big winner here, but actually it was TLT that made a huge chunk of the profits, just saving us in a down market. So far though, NAS is doing really good here. We're just going to keep giving this some time here. We're waiting again. Very simple strategy, just waiting for that blue line to go back below the red. Now you have to remember, this strategy is taking advantage of a pretty simple concept, which is, you know, the stock market tends to go up over time, but it can have some really nasty drops in between. And so we've tried to sort of prep for both scenarios where you have that market moving higher, but also having a defensive strategy in place in case. Now, I will say, you know, I'm going to end the test before we get there, but I just know off the top of my head that in 2023 and 2022, the bond market had a terrible crash. So, you know, that might not save you. Actually, I know will not save you in 2022. So maybe in a follow-up video, we could, if this video does well, maybe we could do some testing in 2022, which would really challenge, I think, this strategy, because you had in 2022, you had both stocks and TLT dropping. However, I will say in 2022, also let me not miss my signal here. We're about to potentially get a close here. Yep. Okay. So we're going to flatten out, taking the trade. And let's take a look at some stats here. But again, if you want that next video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, and maybe we'll do that one in the future. But again, 22 and 23 were a terrible year for bonds. They were pretty much a crash year for bonds. However, it was also a crash year for the stock market. So maybe in the future, we can do a little testing and see if that actually helped us out. Even though we were in bonds instead of NASDAQ, they both crashed in 2022, 2023. Maybe it still was better to be in bonds than NASDAQ. Anyways, let's take a look. So we closed out here on our P&L. We have a balance at the end of our test here of $11,335. We are flat on the position, and let's take a look at our analytics. So this tab is pretty cool. The analytics, or the advanced analytics tab, will give you some AI generated ideas about what your trading behavior looked at. It's really cool. I do have to say that because, you know, time sensitivity, it's we don't have enough data here to get a full comprehensive view. We've got a good bit of data here from the test that we took, but let's take a look here. I'm actually going to zoom past this. We'll come back to this in just a second. I wanted to look at the performance analysis. So we had, in terms of positions, we had 8 total trades. Not very many trades, but again, this was over a large stretch of time. We were not necessarily taking lots of trades, but we were taking some longer term trades. These were definitely, I mean, some of those trades were 60, 70 days long. So in terms of this, what we'll see here is that we had overall more profit from the NASDAQ longs overall, but that one TLT trade still helped us out quite a bit, I think. Anyways, if we scroll down here, what we can see is the net profit was $1,300. The gross profit was $2,083 before, of course, we had some losses that went with that. Profit per month came in around $25. The average profit was around $417, and the average loss was $250. I mean, I like that stat. So we had bigger winners than we had losers. The max drawdown, however, was $799. So we had like an 8% drawdown. against our initial balance, but I guess it was maybe less by that time, depending on what the equity at that time was. But the max current day loss percentage, the profit factor, you can see all of these stats were automatically generated by Forex Tester. The software is incredible. By the way, just real quick, if you want to check them out, all the information will be linked in the description down below. They also have some special offers that you might want to take advantage of. Do not miss that. All the information, like I said, down below in the description. The return percentage was 13.35%, total trades 8, profitable trades 5, so we had a slightly more wins than we did losses. And then let's see, what else do we have? Max profit trade was 641, the max loss was 498. So even though our max, remember, we're not using a stop with this strategy, which may be something that you could add on to your trades, and I'm wondering if it will say that at the top. But anyways, again, we used fixed size. We used 100 shares for TLT, and we used 0.1 for the NAS 100 CFD. So we had more wins than losses. We only had long positions because like I said, we only went long TLT or we went long NASDAQ. So let's now read a little bit about what this advanced analytics said to do here. So what we can see is that it says to try to keep your risk below 2% per trade. You have 2 trades that risk over 2% of your capital, which is critically high. It's strongly advised to reduce position size to avoid catastrophic losses. Consider cautiously increasing position size after a winning streak. I thought that was kind of an interesting idea. So we could add a little bit to our wins. So if you improve your net profit by doubling position size for just 1 trade after 2 consecutive wins. No, this significantly increases risk, which is a good thing to also note in there. So more points to improve. Try using stop losses on every trade to manage risk. So it did not like that we didn't use stop losses. But again, we were kind of using a different approach where we were pivoting the account from NAS to TLT. So just what we could maybe try experimenting with adding a stop loss to add some downside protection. Try managing trades to achieve a 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio or reward to risk ratio. And then strengths, daily loss limit analysis, no losses or insufficient data to evaluate daily losses. Trading session analysis, not enough trades in individual sessions. Yeah, we weren't really trading sessions since this wasn't a day trading strategy. It was definitely more of a swing or position trade style. Revenge trades, no revenge trading. Trading during news events, which is nice. We didn't really do that. So position averaging working well. Position averaging improved your profits. So very cool. I mean, it gives you some really good insights here. And what we can actually do is we could try implementing some of them just to get a general idea of how well it performs. Okay, so we've started the project over, and this time we're going to be doing, on experiment number 2, we're going to be doing something slightly different. When the NASDAQ is in an uptrend, we are going to add a second long position if and only if we get a pullback to the 50-day moving average. I'm sorry, the 20-day, right? Our 20, the blue. When we pull back to the blue, we'll add 1 position additional, doubling our risk, but also our potential reward. We'll see if Forex Tester Analytics gave us a good piece of advice there with the idea of adding trades, and we should have very similar trades in this second run through, but maybe the results will be different. So with that said, let's jump right in. We're not going to change the risk parameters. We're going to be long the NASDAQ as according to our rules, just starting on day 1. We're starting at the highs, but we'll still take the trade. Nothing on TLT, but we're going to click play and we're going to let this start to run. And just as a reminder, we are waiting for that pullback to the blue 20-day moving average to add another position to our NAS long. So if we get that pullback, there it is. So we're going to add a second position, make sure it's NAS 100, and we're going to add our second trade. So we are averaging higher. You can see down here, we've got our 2 open positions now. And we'll see if that was the right call or if adding actually hurts performance. So we'll see. So far, a little mixed. But again, we're going to stay with the same rule. We're still going to close out everything if we roll over to the downside. So we got a nice little bounce here. Let's see if that trend wants to continue. We're not going to add any further trades here. We're just going to let the 2 positions be our max allocation to a single idea. And we're going to wait again for our moving averages to roll over in our favor here. If that happens, then we will close out of everything. So far off to a really good start, and this trade is very profitable here with both entries nicely in profit. Waiting for the moving averages again to roll over before it is time for us to close the trade and reverse it into a TLT long trade. Okay, so price is starting to roll over here. And again, we are not adding any other criteria. I know that the platform also recommended maybe adding stops. We could maybe add that on another run through, but for the time being, what we're going to be doing is staying with the trade, and reminder that we are going to close out of the position if and only if our moving averages actually roll over. So we stayed in this move, though that was a bit of a violent one, still in line with the strategy. We are still long NAS 100. Now, if it closes beneath, we have to adhere to the rules and close everything out. Let's see if we get that. Very close. And there we go. So updating, we have a very nice profit here on the first trade. We'll close this out. And as a reminder, see, there's our first and second position, did quite well here. Now we are going to take our 100 shares long on the TLT and wait out until we get another bull market. So right away, we get back into a bull market. So we will close this out and we will reverse back into our long NAS. And again, remember, we are thinking about adding to the position again, which could help or hurt the performance. So we are going to wait to see if we get a pullback. And there we go. We have our first pullback. So let's add our second long position. We won't be adding any further long positions to the trade. We're just adding one additional parameter here. And again, if that blue line closes beneath, then we will, in this case, get out of the trade. And there we go. We're going to go ahead and get out of the trade. So this one, not as much, but still we close out. We continue with the strategy. We're going to now get long TLT, place that order. We are long over here. And again, we cut that trade. We're out of there. Both positions we got out of. Okay, so we are still in the position here. We are long TLT, no position on NAS. Okay. So now NAS is back in the green. So we'll close this one out back into a profitable one over here. 0.1 for the, I want to switch to NASDAQ. Yep. Place order on the long side. Boom. We're back in the trade. Let's see if we get a pullback, in which case we would add to a winner if the trade is going well. And I should clarify, I think I made one slight mistake here. I don't think it would have changed too much here, but the idea I think should be only add to the trade if the moving average is actually above our first entry, aka adding to a winner. So we're only going to add here if this touches the 20-day after moving in our direction. And actually that might have costed us over here. That might have been a mistake that I made. Again, that's why you test this stuff. Just also goes to show how important it is. And also we're going to add right here. So we're going to take our second position, adding to a winner here. Just goes to show how important it is to, understand how criteria needs to be very specifically ironed out prior to taking positions. So again, we are in our second winning position here. No position on TLT as a reminder. And this one is correct. We were supposed to add only to a winner. So we're just kind of following in fact, that prior trade probably wouldn't have taken it if I had been more specific on that. So that is my bad. Goes to show, hey, I think I'm going to leave it in the video because you know what? That's kind of the point of these videos. Forex Tester is a platform that helps you study and improve and make mistakes without doing them in the live market. So, hey, this is a real experience. I'm thoroughly enjoying this. I hope you guys enjoy these types of videos. If you do, make sure to hit the thumbs up button. I love this stuff. Testing ideas is phenomenal. But you can see nothing is perfect, right? Markets are very difficult, but Forex Tester, genuinely, I think every trader should use it. It's so useful to actually learn the strategies that you're using and whether or not they're actually effective. Look at this. This adding to a winner concept definitely helping us so far. We'll see if it continues to. I did also think about when creating this, I was like, should we do the 50-day moving average instead of the 20-day moving average for where we should add? Maybe on another test. This is where you can continuously improve and test and refine your strategies. So maybe in another test, we could test the 50 instead of the 20 as where we want to add. Wait for that 50-day moving average. So that would be like adding to a winner that's really doing well rather than just a winner that's started to do a little well. So again, you can just keep testing this, and I encourage you to test these ideas on your own. We're looking for our opportunity to get out of this trade here. If our moving averages roll over, big drop there. Okay, we're going to go ahead and take our profits off, closing all. And as a reminder, we're going to get long TLT. So we'll do new order, make sure we're on TLT. We want 100 shares of TLT, and we're going to get in here. And again, I mean, on the next run, you could also test, do I want to add to TLT, or do I want to add some filter to TLT? Do I only want to be long TLT if the trend is to the upside, right? There's so many things, so many ways that you can keep testing your ideas and throwing it on a whiteboard and seeing what works and what doesn't work. So this is, again, I think this is the one where TLT really made a good move. So we'll see if this one rebounds. But when I was coming up with this test idea, my thought process was being pretty agnostic to what TLT was doing and really focusing what the NASDAQ is doing, right? When NASDAQ is trending down, the idea is we want to be defensive. When NASDAQ is trending up, we want to be offensive. Look at that. There goes TLT to the upside. And by the way, this scenario, for those of you guys who are market nerds like myself, this is the bond trader's dream, is NAS down, bonds up, because it's sort of the, the bonds idea is like people make fun of bond traders and stuff because they're very passive and defensive and, sometimes get the gist of being the skeptics in the room. And so when you have NASDAQ dropping and bonds up, people in the bonds world kind of are feeling good about themselves. And this is a good example. 2018, what is this, 2018? 2018 was clearly a very good bond, good point of having bonds in the portfolio. Anyways, we are going to close out, take this profit, and we are back long the NASDAQ. So let's go back over here, long NAS. Remember, we were adding, and this time we're going to look to add to a winner if and only if the trade is in profit and our retest is better on this, or is higher on the second entry than our initial one, right? So let's check and see if we get a retest. No retest so far. But again, some part of me wonders like, hey, is there something we could do with TLT to improve, bond positioning? Anyways, we are looking like we're going to, if we get a retest of this 20-day moving average, let's see if we do. There it is. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add our second NAS long position, adding to a winner, and see if that improves our results. And if I believe this is the last trade we'll take. And I gotta say, before we even see the analytics, Forex Tester's idea of adding to winners here definitely seems pretty intelligent, right? Because now we're talking about these uptrends, we're getting much bigger size on when they're working. And I think that's the whole point of that, and that's again, that is the power of having a software that will watch your trading and help you to improve. I mean, it is truly game changer what Forex Tester's up to. It's very, very cool stuff. As you can tell, I'm a bit of a fan. And yes, this is a sponsored video, but like you have to understand, I'm pretty selective on who I like to feature on my videos, and Forex Tester is worth every penny in my personal opinion, sponsored or not. I've said that many times, but disclaimer, this is a sponsored video, but I've shared many times where I'm not, sponsored, still making the point that I really love their software. I think it's great. So we are just waiting for that last moving average crossover to close out and flatten all of our positions. We're in really nice profits on both positions here. Okay, so we are looking for the chance to close out. Okay, so we are going to close out the positions, close all, and let's review our trades again. So let's go now to the analytics side. And what we can see here is it does have more things for us to take a look at, which again is very cool. Continues to find plays. Look at this. We had more winners this time around. And of course, we only had long positions again. We took more trades because we were adding to winners. The NASDAQ, they really, by adding in that second winner, you can see NAS started to, TLT didn't lose anything. We continued to do well on TLT as well. But NAS really, we improved our gains here. Let's do a bit of a side-by-side on some of these stats with our previous test. Okay, so I have both of our tests side-by-side here. And what we can see is that, let's actually scroll down to some of the stats here really quick. So I'm going to look at this, the performance. Again, this is test number 1. This is test number 2. In test number 1, we took 8 trades. We took more trades in the second one. We had overall more profit in the second test, which I think is great, right? We had $1,300 in gains over here, $2,000 over here. So we almost doubled, not quite, but almost like 50% plus improvement in our results simply by doing one of the improvements that were suggested by Forex Tester. So what we can see here is that NAS, we took more trades on NAS, and overall we had more profit on NAS as well. So if we scroll down to some of the risk metrics, let's do this here. We'll just compare these side by side, and we can see that net profit overall came in better on the second trade, and most of our stats actually came in better. We did have, let's see, gross loss. It is slightly more loss because, of course, the second trade costed us in some of the downside. But again, overall, more gains were had by taking that second trade. Really interesting. Average loss was slightly increased, but not too marginally, and seems to be worth it considering our average or our overall profit really considerably improved. Our return percentage went from 13 to 20%. Very nice. And overall, again, what I can say here is that it's pretty clear that we have some really nice improvements simply by following this idea, right? This idea of adding slightly to a winning trade. We found a way to add that, and there could be even further ways that we could go back and do this again. And what I hope you're seeing in this video is that backtesting is a wealth of information just waiting for you to improve your trading. There are so many ways that we could go back and test this more thoroughly, find additions, find ways to improve it, add new symbols into the mix. You can see this is a labyrinth of opportunity for you to improve in your trading, and it doesn't actually put any real hard-earned money at risk. If you're interested in getting a copy of Forex Tester, I personally am a big fan and have all the information down below in the description for you to check them out. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.